The NFL season is about to start this weekend, and for the Vikings, it starts a week 1 matchup against the Packers. Border battle. This is a big deal for us. If you don't know, the Twin Cities are depending on where you are in the Twin Cities, we're 20 minutes from the Wisconsin border, which is way too close to enemy territory. And growing up, we would go to Wisconsin fairly often. Anytime you wanted fireworks in the summer, you got to go to Wisconsin because that's where they sold them. Even now, they sell much better ones in Wisconsin. They sell little weak stuff here in Minnesota. But also for my family, my cousins lived in Chicago, and so at least once a year, we would drive down to Chicago and visit them. And we would always go all the way through Wisconsin, right? Almost the entire drive is through Wisconsin. For me growing up, I always felt like if I'm going into enemy territory, I'm going to wear purple. I'm going to make sure that they know that there's a Vikings fan in their land. I don't know if they cared, but for me, I made sure they knew, right? It's kind of like if you watch the show How I Met Your Mother, there's the episode where Marshall is driving through Wisconsin and he's got his jersey on and he's blowing the horn and he's shouting and makes it very clear that was me, right? I don't think I'm the only one that does that. I'm sure there's a lot of other Vikings fans. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for me, when I cross that river, I wear purple. It's kind of silly, kind of unnecessary, right? But for me, it was about being unashamed in enemy territory. You might think that's a bit extreme, probably unnecessary, and this might be a bit of a stretch for you, but I want to compare this to living your faith in the world. See, it's easy to be a Christian in church. It's easy to raise your hands during praise and worship when everybody around you is doing it too. It's easy to read your Bible, to talk about God, to talk about faith with your people at church. But are you living it outside of church? When you leave the church doors on Sunday morning, are you still living unashamed in the world? Because see, the world is enemy territory. And for some of you that might sound extreme and that might sound weird, and maybe it is a little extreme. But I just want to challenge you and encourage you to live your faith out loud out in the world. And yes, this does mean evangelism. This does mean sharing your faith, talking to people about your faith. Don't be ashamed to be a Christian in the world. But it's not just about the way you talk. It's not just about the conversations you have. It's not just about sharing your faith with your neighbors and coworkers and family and friends, which is all good. But what's more important to me is how you live your life unashamed. Right? If I'm wearing this Brett Favre Vikings jersey in Wisconsin, I don't have to say anything. You can clearly see where my loyalties lie. I'm not trying to literally translate this to wearing Christian clothing, although there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. But just the way you live your life. Do you live your faith out in the world so loudly and so obviously that they all know where your loyalties lie? It's great to love people in the church. But if you don't ever go outside of the church and love people out there and show Christ to the world, what does that even mean? What are you actually doing if you're just doing it in the church? It'd be like me wearing a Vikings jersey at US Bank Stadium, surrounded by Vikings fans. Yeah, that's cool. That's great, right? I love that. But that's not what it's all about. That doesn't take work. That's not hard. That's not pressure. That's not what Jesus has called us to do. We can't be afraid to be Christians, and I mean actually Christians. I don't mean loud, obnoxious, you're going to hell Christians. I mean the light and love of Jesus Christ, bringing the goodness of God out into the world. Because the world needs it. They desperately need the hope that we have, especially right now. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you did, can you do 3 things for me? Can you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and tell your friends?